Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aziza. You are watching Aziza. If you're new here, hi. Welcome. Okay, I don't know what else to say. But if you know me and you've seen some of my videos, welcome back. So today's video is going to be a different kind of video. It's going to be a chit-chatty one, and I've never done one of these, so I'm going to be a little bit awkward. I actually tried to film one of these in my old house, actually at the start of lockdown. But I was moving so much, like I was touching my hair like multiple times and I fixing my glasses. But anyways, I was doing a lot of that and I feel like I just need to redo everything. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know or everything you don't need to know. You make the decision about my IUD experience. So starting with my IUD, why I got it, when I got it, what kind I got. Go back to 4 years ago when I had my son, and we knew right then and there that we didn't want to have like another baby. Like at least I didn't want to have another baby right away. We've always known that we wanted to kind of space out our kids if we do have multiple kids. Even before I had Alden, I've never used birth control pills or any type of contraceptive because I'm just really weird about being on something that alters my physical being. I just decided it wasn't really for me. And then after I gave birth, I thought that, okay, the one thing that I could probably do is get the IUD, because I heard that people don't really feel anything when they have it in there, and then you can choose what kind of IUD you want, if you wanted the hormonal or the non-hormonal. So I decided to get on the non-hormonal IUD. For the copper IUD, I knew that I still wanted to have my periods every month. I know that some people don't like their periods, but for me, I think the period is the most natural thing of being a woman, and I wouldn't want in any way to stop it. And also because like I'm thinking about my second pregnancy. If I were to have a second pregnancy, there's really high infertility rates in my family on both sides, and I know maybe I'm not making the most educated insight here or commentary here, but this is just how I feel. I feel like I don't want to kind of interfere with my natural body. So yeah, when I decided that I wanted the copper IUD, I was like fresh after giving birth. I want to say as soon as you're able to like have sex again is when they recommend getting your birth control or contraceptive option. I ended up having my IUD for a total of about 3 years. The whole insertion process, I did do some reading and I watched maybe one video. That's my research. It wasn't enough because I definitely did not look more into it, and I went in thinking like, okay, it's gonna hurt. It's not gonna be as bad because my birth experience was just traumatizing. But anyways, I felt like, okay, I freaking gave birth to a baby. Like I can definitely get a IUD in. So I went there by myself. I did a lunchtime appointment because I tried to squeeze in all my doctor appointments during the lunch. And then I got there, I got dressed down and everything. And then I got so nervous as per usual, because that's expected. And so I got dressed down, and then everyone was like, okay, we're gonna put it in, here's the copper, like see this, and I'm like, yeah, get it in. As soon as they like put it inside of me, you guys should see this right now, like I'm doing this like inside of me, immediately, like I immediately felt this like back pain, cramps like forming from my lower back all the way up to my spine. It felt like a contraction. The worst thing is I wasn't expecting it, okay? So here I am just like sitting there, and I felt this like really weird cramps, and everyone's like holding me, and I'm like, my body I think just kind of did the, you know, and they were like, oh no, you're fine. And I just felt like a lab rat at that point, like, oh my gosh, what are they doing to my body? And it was just this weirdest feeling ever. And that was the most unpleasant part about this whole thing, was the insertion process. So I always tell people, if you want to get an IUD, you should expect that it's going to hurt. I went back to work right after I got it done because I told you I did a lunchtime appointment, And I think that was a mistake. I would definitely recommend doing like a half day or something like that, because you're gonna feel crampy for like a few hours after. But the next day I was completely fine. So yeah, that was basically my experience with getting it in. So obviously the IUD was very effective because I did not get pregnant. The few symptoms or things that were very, very obvious and apparent to me, that was sort of annoying actually, while I was on it, is I went from having like very standard menstrual cycles, like 7 days, 7-8 days max, to it being like 10 days, 11 days, so like a lot longer. And I would bleed so much. I remember I got it in, I think it was in July. And then in August, I had to go to Vegas for work, for a trade show. I was still getting used to having it inside my vagina. And I was at the show, and I remember it was my second day being on the period. And I was talking to a customer, like trying to sell product. And then all of a sudden I felt like this waterfall in my underwear. And it felt all too familiar because it reminds me of my teenage days. And so I grabbed my palm, I did this swipe up my ass, actually just on the outside of my pants, right? Because I felt like a waterfall. And I looked at my palm and I was like, it's blood, I'm bleeding. And so I was like freaking out. Like I just left the guy that I was talking to and just went, and I was like, told my coworker, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm bleeding, like I have to go, like, you know, like I just can't, like I had to leave. So then she walked me to the bathroom. Like it was just this fiasco. So embarrassing, so unnecessary. So please, if you want to get the copper, you might experience that. It was a lot, and it kept on going on like that every single month. And I would have to get used to the fact that like first, second, third day, even if I am on my period, I have to wear a pad, and I have to wear a tampon, and I have to change my tampon every hour on the hour. If I don't, then it'll bleed through again. So yes, longer periods, heavy periods. And then because I got the non-hormonal one, I didn't really feel like hormonal. I mean, it wasn't too crazy, but I have to say though, like sometimes I do get the blues. Like maybe it's just like PMS, honestly, but I'm already like a pretty moody person, especially when I'm like nearing my period. So I remember like sometimes I would feel like super like down and just don't feel right. Like I just feel like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me? Is it this IUD? Like what's going on? Like I don't know. So that's another thing that I felt. And then the last thing was I felt like my pee always smelled like metal. And I don't know if it's like a mixture of like bacterial vaginosis or like yeast infection or like UTI all mixed into one or what have you. I just felt like it just didn't smell as good. So yeah, and I do drink a lot of water. Sometimes like I do notice if I drink too much coffee, like my pee's gonna stink, but this, like it just smelled like metal. Those were kind of like the main like things that I experienced being on an IUD that were more on the unpleasant side. But other than that, I didn't feel anything. My husband didn't feel anything. Like it was not bad, honestly. Oh, and then the best thing is the copper one lasts like freaking 10-15 years or something crazy like that. So even if you left it in and you want to take it out, like you're good. So as I mentioned earlier, I ended up being on my IUD for about 3 years. Sometime around last year, so last year's 2019, in the month like July-ish, I was just so ready to be off of it because, as I was telling you, like the bleeding was just not vibing with me. At this point, my husband and I were open at the idea of having another child. I basically scheduled for an IUD removal. I got it out in November, and when I went in, it was deja vu because the last time I had went to the OBGYN was when I got my IUD inserted. And same thing, I went in, I saw the same midwife, and they were like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever. And I'm like, I know. Got dressed down and everything, and this time I did do some research and they said it's not supposed to hurt. So I went in, I lay down, I was so happy. I was like taking pictures, and finally, like it just They got it out and it really felt just like getting a pap smear. So it wasn't too bad at all, but still like they're up in your veg, right? So you're gonna feel a little discomfort, but not too bad. And as soon as they got it out, they were like, here it is. And so I was like, oh my God, yes, thank you so much. Like, oh, so happy. I was so beyond, like I was so happy to get it out. Like I just felt like, oh, I'm free again. I can breathe. Like my body's back. My body is back. So then I went back to work. So that was basically my experience with getting it out. It wasn't too bad. As I mentioned earlier, it was just in and out really quick. And where are we right now? So obviously it has now been 5 months, almost 6 months now, and we're still not pregnant. And I realized that it's getting a while for me to conceive. I don't know why. The first couple of months I know that it took time for my body to regulate, but we'll see how it goes. So that's it, guys. That's kind of like my experience overall. I got it in because I didn't want to get pregnant. I got it in 2016, about a month after I gave birth. Had it in there for about 3 years. Insertion process sucked. Removal was easy peasy and highly effective. Symptoms being on it, not so great. A lot of bleeding, long periods. I realized my tone has changed. Apologize about that. My husband came home and I had to take a quick break. So, yep, sorry about that and sorry for the background noise. But would I recommend? Yes, 100% I would recommend it to anyone if you are okay with bleeding, the bleeding part. But that's just my body. Maybe for you, you're not going to bleed as much, but who knows, right? Definitely speak to your medical professional and they'll be able to give you a more professional recommendation. Hopefully this is helpful. If you guys have any questions at all, leave it in the comments section. I love answering questions. Yeah, if you've had very similar experiences as well, let me know because again, people don't talk about this stuff. So yeah, hope to see you guys in the next video.